So this is a skill that I learned probably about 10 years ago. And I wish I learned it 10 years before that. So it's really important when having a critical conversation, there's a process, right? I think that there's a process and a design for everything in life. I'm a firm believer that success leaves clues. So I'm going to drop a massive, massive clue. I'm going to hit you guys with a cheat code today. So if you're in a position where you work in a team, you work with anybody in your office, on a team, on a group, you collaborate with anybody, or even if you don't, you're a solo flyer, but you've got a spouse, maybe a brother, sister, mom, dad. If you have anybody in your life, if you're not a hermit, you can use this skill. I use this skill, this process in my personal life and in my professional life. It's to the point now when I drop it on my wife, she's like, Joe, don't fucking coach me. That's how much I rely on this skill. I think it has allowed me to be a better business partner, more effective communicator, a better spouse, and a better parent. So the skill that I'm going to teach you guys today is this. It's called a bid conversation. B-I-D. Bid conversation. That's what we're going to work on. Now, this is used in place of basically anything you're saying right now when you want to address a behavior that A, you want to correct, or B, you want to reward. Now, I'm like a live by the sword, die by the sword kind of guy. Like if I'm going to go in and I'm going to be critical of somebody in a certain area, or I'm going to deliver some tough feedback, when I see that it's been corrected, I will go back and I will deliver positive feedback. I'll never deliver something negative without something positive at the end. So, for example, like if I've got somebody who consistently shows up late for meetings, well, then I'll have the conversation with them, but the next meeting that they show up, I'll have the exact same conversation of thanking them for showing up on time. And I use a bid conversation to do it. So you're like, what the hell is a bid conversation? B-I-D. So write down the letter B, big capital B. Beside that, B stands for behavior. Behavior. We're going to break all these pieces down. Underneath where you wrote that big letter B, I want you to write a capital I. I stands for impact. Below the I, you're going to write a D. D stands for development. Behavior, impact, development. That is the structure to having a critical conversation. You can give me any issue in the workplace, any issue, and I can boil it down to probably a 60-second conversation. And you're like, what? Like literally anything. Anything. I can address somebody's poor paperwork, poor performance, poor anything, and I can do it in 60 seconds. You ever had one of those conversations where you're like, I really need to say something, and then it's like an hour and a half later and you guys are just going around in circles and you're like, how do I just get off this? And everybody leaves the conversation going, what the hell was that? This is going to add structure. So can somebody give me a conversation that they've had recently that maybe we can use as an example? Something maybe corrective. Could be a spouse, kids, workplace, anything. Hit me with something where you're like, man, I really wish I had said something. And we're going to work through that together.
I can give a kid one because it happened this morning.
Beautiful. Hit me.
Lucas says he no longer wants to get dressed or brush his teeth. I'm like, well, you have to. We need to get going. He's like, no, I don't have to.
Okay. How old is Lucas?
Almost 4.
Almost 4. Okay. Honestly, this just might work. Let's take Lucas. Let's break it down. Behavior. Now, whenever you're having this conversation, now I actually write these down before I have them. As weird as that sounds, before I'm about to have a critical conversation, I write it down and I actually practice it. What's the message? What does it sound like? It's like if you ever been to like somebody's funeral and you've seen somebody go up and do the eulogy and they don't have anything written down and it's like all over the place. Yeah. All right. Jamie's like, yeah, maybe we're at the same service, right? But it's so important to have something prepared that you fall back on, or else you just meander everywhere. So B, you state the observable behavior. Really important. If you did not taste it, touch it, smell it, see it, or hear it, it did not happen. It is fucking hearsay. That's simple. It is gossip and hearsay. You need to see it. And you state the observable behavior. Lucas, I saw you did not brush your teeth this morning. Skyly, I saw you were late for the meeting today. Aaron, I saw you double park your car. Callie, I saw during the meeting you had your camera off. State.
Is it off? I'm sorry, I'm listening, but I'm also editing at the same time. So
I'm just fucking with you.
I just want you to know that I am listening.
I'm just messing with you. I just want to see how fast you turn that camera on. You're like, oh damn it, freaking Joe.
Like how it was recorded.
Who brought this guy in? Who brought this freaking clown in again? So
You got me.
So really important. You state the observable behavior. Like Tony said that she saw. Well, I didn't observe it. Then that's a conversation Tony needs to have, and I will coach Tony to create a big conversation, because I think peer-to-peer recognition is like the greatest thing on the planet. So many times it's like, well, I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just going to pass it on. You deal with it, right? So again, if you did not see it, touch it, taste it, hear it, smell it, it did not happen. So Lucas, I saw you did not brush your teeth. State the observable behavior. Should never be more than like 2 sentences. Short, concise. You address one issue only. This is not rapid fire, because now your message is going to, well, is this about my getting dressed? Is this about my teeth? Is it about a tracker? Is it about a camera? Is it about, like, what is this about? Is it about the parking spot, or is this about like the color of my car that you don't like? What is this about? Clear and concise messaging. State the observable behavior. 2, state the impact that the behavior had on you and or the team. Lucas, when you did not brush your teeth, the impact is your father and I had to smell that rank breath all the way to school. Right? You know, again, Skyly, when you were late for the meeting, the whole team had to sit here and wait for you to sign in. And you want to cut someone right to the core, you tell them what they did and how it impacted somebody else. Again, 2 sentences long. That's the impact, right? Because a lot of times we get into these weird conversations where it's like, you hurt my feelings, you hurt their feelings, you hurt everybody's feelings. Everybody's mad, but people are like, well, what are they mad about? Like, it snowballs. So that's the impact, the development. So Lucas, going forward, here's what I need to see. Skyly, going forward, I need you to be on time for these meetings. And that should only be about 1 sentence long. So going forward, I need to see. That's the development. Now, this is a very unilateral conversation. This is going one way. This is not, well, we're here to talk about it. This is, there's an issue. It is going to be addressed, and it's going to be addressed quickly, right? We want to kind of like cut down the amount of time we're spending on these conversations. Behavior, impact, development. And after the development, you can almost put a little side note. You can always ask, so what questions do you have for me? I love that. That's like the cherry on top of the sun that people are like, oh, no questions. Because usually people are feeling so awkward at that moment because people aren't used to having a direct conversation. Chances are your conversations sound like this. Hey, Skyly, I noticed you were late for the meeting. So what happened was like, I don't know, we were all just kind of like sitting around waiting. It's kind of like a respect thing, I guess, like on our team. So like, please, if something's going on, like if you could just let me know if you're unable to get to the meeting. But, you know, again, like love having you here, love the enthusiasm and the energy that you bring. But like that meeting thing, like it's really you gotta be here on time. And again, like if you're not, I get it, but you just need to message me. But if you message me, like make sure you send it via text. But again, really important, like I'd love having you here. So are we cool? Chances are those are your conversations now, because they're just like, you don't want to offend anybody. You want to let them know how valued they are. There's an issue, but still they're really valued. They call that a shit sandwich. Everybody ever heard that term before? Yeah.
Yeah.
Skyly, you're awesome, but you're always late for your meetings, which is really fucking us all up. But again, love having you here. Nice, not good, nice.
Shit sandwich.
Yeah. And what do people walk away with? Oh, Skyly loves me being here. Cool. Right? Behavior, impact, development. It's how you have a critical conversation. Now let's look at, again, Lucas, our buddy Lucas. Hey, Lucas, your father and I saw you didn't brush your teeth this morning. The impact is you're going to become that stinky kid in class. People probably aren't going to want to play with you, and we got to smell your rank breath all the way to school. Going forward, your teeth are to be brushed by 8 a.m. What questions do you think you have for me, pal? He's going to be like this.
No, I told him he was going to be that smelly kid in class, and he was like, okay.
But again, you got to be so direct,
Yes.
right? And so that's the thing. She's like, well, Lucas, right? Again,
No.
I'm just guessing. I don't know. I wasn't there for the conversation. You can hit my, I'll tell you what, hit my Calendly link and I'll have a big conversation with them.
Hit your what link?
My Calendly. You can hit a button and you can book me.
Take him to my husband
okay.
at Cedar Dental. He'll set him straight.
So let's
say threaten him. I was like, you'll get cavities and the dentist will pull them. And that's when he brushed them.
Hey, you know what? The impact is your father and I are now going to have to pay to get your whole teeth amputated. Right? Like, you know that, right? So going forward, if you don't want them amputated, your food. Brush your damn teeth. So let's take another example. Who has an example of a critical conversation that they think they might need to have? Who wants to be vulnerable and put one out there?
I feel like you went over all of mine. So now I don't have any, but
someone's got to have something.
I have something.
Nobody's pissed anybody off lately? Like, come on. Hit me, Jamie. What do you got?
Okay, so I've got a close friend who I love her, but she I feel like every conversation is a dose in complaining.
Yes.
And I don't know how to deal with it because I want to be sympathetic to her, whatever she's complaining about. But at the same time, like, I want us to have a relationship and be able to talk about other things other than other people or things that are bad.
Okay, so one key issue is you said, I want to be sympathetic. Wrong. You want to be empathetic, not sympathetic. Big difference. Does everybody know the difference between sympathy and empathy?
Sympathy is when you're saying you feel bad for someone, but you don't actually feel it, right? Like empathy is when you feel it. Sort of. So I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this before, but there is one of like my favorite speakers to listen to. Her name is Brené Brown. Oh yeah, I know Brené Brown.
Brené Brown.
Oh, I remember that. The one where she goes with the deer in the hole with the bear.
Has everybody seen the deer in the hole with the bear?
Yeah.
Okay. Brené Brown, the video is called Empathy. It will change your life. Like, it's for like a little animated, like 90-second video. It'll change everything. Go to YouTube, Brené Brown Empathy. And it is like an amazing video. And the difference is like this deer like climbs down a hole and it's sitting in this hole, like in the dark, and this bear comes down and sits beside the deer and is like, well, I don't know what to say. So I'm just going to sit here with you. That's empathy. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to feel this with you. Sympathy is there's another deer looking in the hole and it's like, damn, guys, it's dark down there. You want a sandwich? That's sympathy, right? Almost like that silver lining. Cool. But anyways, big difference. Watch that video. This is a really good piece, right? It's very hard to critique someone's like attitude because everybody's sort of entitled to however they're feeling. But there's things that you can say because you shouldn't have to always be that person who's absorbing that negativity. So Jamie, can I ask what your friend's name is? Is it Skyly?
No, definitely not. Let's call her Joanna.
Joanna. All right. Joe, is it me?
Yeah.
Or Joe. Yeah, let's
call her Joe. Pretty fucking eerily close. Hey, I thought we had something, man. You told me you understood and then everything was gonna be okay. Okay, so here's what I would say. So let's look at the B, behavior. Joanna, I really wanted to talk to you because I've been reflecting on our last conversations, right? Really simple. I've really been reflecting and thinking over the last couple times that we've gotten together for a coffee or a beer or a drink. The impact to me personally with the amount of negativity you're bringing, I'm finding it's very hard for me to connect with you. So going forward, I would like it if maybe our conversations could change. I very much care about you and what you're going through. But at the same time, I'm finding that your energy is bringing me down. What questions do you think you might have around that? Behavior, impact, development. As soon as you say that, she's like, oh, shit.
That sounds really, really bad. Sounds like it sounds hard for sure. I have asked you this, Joe, and you told me you're like, in all of the 20 years or whatever, however long you've been doing like management in any business, not even just real estate, you were like, how many times do you think I enjoy this fucking conversation? And I was like, and you're like, never. And it never
It's
gets
never easy. Never
It
easy.
seems like I think
No.
actually friendship conversations are some of the most uncomfortable and tough conversations that you're going to have. Like it's so different with your child even or your spouse
Yep.
or a
Yeah, or even
coworker.
coworkers.
Because
Yeah.
here's the thing,
But
right? Like,
friendships are just
yeah.
like, yeah, that's a tough.
because you've chosen
tough
it.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I actively choose my friends.
Yeah.
Like I don't always choose my coworkers. I can't choose my family, but I'm choosing my friends. It's a different mindset. But
That's
that's
a different
not to say-
mindset though. A lot of people think like, especially when you're from a small town, like they're my friends because I've known them forever. So just your wording there, that's a huge mindset shift. And I think that I'm finding it comes with age. Like you become a lot more choosy of.
The older I get, like the more honestly, the more introverted I've become. I'm like a fucking hermit usually. Like I'm like, I don't want to leave the house half the time. I'm like, oh man, less interaction is less complication. I'm just going to hang out here and like watch something on TV. But again, that's not to say like I've had these conversations like with my spouse. I've had them with my friends where I've had to say like, hey, I've noticed like the conversations we've been having lately seem to be very like one-sided and very negative. And the impact is I'm leaving these conversations and like my friendship levels are kind of dipping a little bit low. I don't have the impact is I don't have the energy to keep up with your negativity. So going forward, you know what? I would love to have these conversations, but let's also focus on the positive things that are going on in our lives. Like, does that make sense? Behavior, impact, development. And the more times, like, again, write your conversation down. B, behavior. I, impact. D, development. Write it down.
I was going to say, what about a critical conversation like in work that we would have to give to our clients? So if Skyly had a client who she was showing houses to that she knew were out of their price range, how would she do that? And then I guess, or for me, same thing for me, I guess. Like, let's say we've got somebody who, they've been pre-approved for 500,000 and they put an offer on a house for 600,000.
Or what about if you need income confirmation and they're dragging their heels, right? How often are you chasing paperwork? Yeah. So which one do you want to go through? I'll go through whatever you want. Or do you want to do both?
What do you guys want?
Tell me what you want. Hit me.
Let's do the one where they're looking over their.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So Skyly, you ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? B, behavior. Skyly, I'm seeing that I'm leaning towards showing you houses that are above and beyond what Jamie has qualified you for. The impact is that I'm going to be heartbroken when we go to write an offer, and I know you're not going to be moving into these homes. So going forward, I really think we need to reevaluate this process to make it easier on both of us.
I do like that you wrapped like us into it. Cause I mean, it is
Yeah.
like, we're on the same team. Like we don't want to beat each other up, right? Like that's not the
Right?
point.
But if you think about it, behavior, I'm seeing that we're looking at homes that are above and beyond what I know that Jamie has qualified you for. I know it. I see it. Impact. The impact is it's going to break my heart when you find the home that you're going to fall in love with. And I know that you can't afford it. I know you're not qualified for that amount. So going forward, we need to come up with a new plan, starting with a new saved search that you're going to see this afternoon, reflecting that qualified amount. What questions do you think you might have around that? Behavior, impact, development. Well, I love showing you these homes. I know you're falling in love with the ones that are over $1 million, but again, Jamie told me we can't go more than 850. But again, I love taking you guys out. It's so much fun. I love seeing, man, what are people going to learn from that? Nothing. Oh yeah, I guess Skyly loves taking me out to see homes. Cool. There's nothing corrective in that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fair.
Now let's look at it on the reverse. Let's say they're like, yeah, you're right. So let's refine the search and let's start looking at places that are around like 750. You know what? Great idea. Search goes through and all of a sudden they're like, hey, Skyly, this place is 625. Hey, this place is 675. Can we check those out? I would say, hey, you know what? I wanted to thank you so much for really connecting with that search that I sent. The impact is I know I'm going to be able to be more equipped to help you find a home that you're going to fall in love with. So going forward, please keep those price categories in mind because I'm so excited to show you these homes. What questions do you think you might have around any of this?
Yeah.
Simple behavior, impact, development, up one, down the other.
Do you think people know that? Okay. I don't know if this is just me. Do you think that people notice when you use that conversation on the flip side?
For sure. And they're like, wow, this dude's having a consistent fucking conversation. Of course. wow, this dude, the dude's consistent. I'll give him that. Right.
Okay.
For sure. Like there's people here that like they fuck up and they're like, oh God, here comes the bid conversation. Because I've taught my whole team this process.
Yeah.
Whole team. I want everybody to be a master at this.
Have
I want
you-
everybody to be able to, because a lot of people, when there's an uncomfortable conversation, like let's say like, Tony, you did something and you pissed me off, right? Like I'm miffed or I'm upset. Human nature dictates that I just want to retreat. I don't even want to have the conversation. I'm like, oh man, she probably knows that she pissed me off. And like, I'm just, whatever, like it's all good. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm not going to stress. It's only happened a couple of times, whatever. Human nature is avoidance. It's not confrontation, oddly enough. I mean, it might have when we were like cave people running around with spears, maybe it was confrontation. But now we're like, you know what? Like, I kind of just want to avoid a lot of conflict. Maybe it's a one-off. And you start rationalizing as to why you shouldn't have a critical conversation. But if you have that crutch, like if you've got that process, you're going to want to have them. And after you have them, you're like, wow, that was surprisingly easy. I was able to prepare, write it down, practice, and deliver. Like I feel heard. And that's the point, right? It's to not shy away from these conversations, but to have them with structure.
I was wondering if like on the development part of it, if it would be good in some situations to include the person, like, especially if it's not your kid, it's an equal partner. Like if I was having the conversation with Skyly, could I say something like, going forward, what do you think we could do to make this better for us both, or something like that?
Because the Skyly knew she wouldn't have done it in the first place. She either wouldn't have done it or would have done it in the first place, depending on the scenario. So I never put that in. This is supposed to be very
that's
direct.
what I would lean towards for sure. So it
This
feels
is
more like collaborative.
Nope, this is not collaborative.
This is not collaborative.
This is non-collaborative. This is one way. This is when something, again, if it was collaborative, you probably wouldn't have gotten to this spot where you would have needed a critical conversation. It would have been like, hey, I got an idea. Let's just start looking at stuff in our price range. What do you think, guys? Yeah, cool. Okay, done. It's a one-off. Good to go. But this is like where something might have happened like twice. And maybe you had that really quick one-off, like, hey, I notice we're kind of looking at houses that are way out of our price range. I mean, what do you guys think we can do to dial that in? They'll be like, well, I guess we'll start looking at stuff that's in our price range. Cool. Again, that's where it needs to be. Again, that very like one way, like this is just me telling you as a trusted advisor, as a parent, as a spouse, as a friend, I'm telling you what the standards are.
The people on the other side, Jamie, you would hope that they would be able to like come up with a constructive way to like solve the issue. But like you said, Joe, I don't think usually when people do these things, they're so oblivious to the fact that they're even doing it and that it is causing issue. I think you need to give them what you need in order for the relationship to go forward, obviously, is the thing that you should give them. You don't want them to try and like solve the problem, because I feel like they would know how to solve it, but I don't think that they do.
They don't. And
yeah, you're right. Or probably they would say something like, well, I just thought, we could look at them and then I could get ideas for what I might want to do when I, buy
excuses. You get excuses.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit you guys with something. And Skyly, maybe I hit you with this the other day, but my new favorite quote is excuses are the nails used to build the house of failure. I know, savage, isn't it? It's like that cuts the soul.
It's very true though. Like
it is. Yeah, anything that's ever gotten wrong in life for anybody, there's an excuse behind it. Right? Nobody wants to point the finger at themselves. And I get it. And I'll tell you, here's another thing I'll say, and I'm really blunt about this, and somebody might get pissed off, and that's okay. I'm here. Argue with me. Please fight me. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years where I've been like having these types of conversations, 10 years unstructured, 10 years I've been having bid conversations. If you need to have a bid conversation, what that means is you have gone sideways on expectations. It's your fault you're having this conversation to begin with. Your fault, not theirs, is yours. Because you have set expectations, not standards. Does anybody know the difference between a standard and an expectation?
No, I thought they were this. I honestly would have thought that they were the same.
No.
Or like,
No.
Well,
Incorrect.
the standard is like your actions. Like, so you're going to lead by example instead
Incorrect.
of. No.
I'm going to be blunt. Incorrect. So a standard to an expectation is what fact is to fiction. One changes, one does not.
Mm.
I know that there's a moon. I know there's a moon. Peter Pan, everybody's got a version of it. So if something has gone wrong and you need to have a bid conversation, it's because you've set expectations, not standards. A standard is, I will not show a property that is below this mark because I know what you qualified for. You're qualified at $1 million. I will not turn a fucking key for 1.2. That's my standard. An expectation is, well, I guess if you really liked it, and you kind of want to see it, yeah, I will check it out. And that's going to lead to a bid conversation.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Standards. We have company standards. 10 conversations per day. Tracker comes in Thursday. You can't did you or didn't you? Yes or no. And as soon as I go, well, you hit 8 per day this week and you got your tracker in, you kind of hit what the expectation is. You're just about there. Well, now I'm enabling that. And now I'm going to have a bid conversation. It's also the exception that then makes the rule. As soon as I make an exception on it, well, then now the new rule is 8. 8 is the new 10. 7 is going to be the new 8. It's going to keep snowballing until I need to have a bid conversation and bring it back up. So if you're having to have bid conversations, it's because you have expectations, not company standards, not standards in your life.
So if you're having follow-up bid conversations with someone because they haven't taken any action, then you would probably blame yourself because you haven't changed your standards.
Point the finger at yourself because you've either allowed for an exception or you've done something out of the realm of what your standards need to be, right? We have company standards. I know you get if this happens, then this happens, and then this, and then this, and then this, right? We don't jump steps. I would never show up at a property and meet somebody and their spouse, hey, I want to get into 123 Main Street in 10 minutes. Oh, cool. I'll be there. And go meet them at the house 10 minutes later. We would never do that because we have standards. But if I had an agent that was consistently doing that, then I would have to have a bid conversation and it's my fault for not implementing the standards. Oh yeah, point the finger at yourself for sure. The whole thing just got dark. I feel it just took a whole turn. Everybody's quiet now. People I ain't saying nothing. This guy's a beast. I hate to be married to that Moretti guy.
I'm really thinking about it because there's some people in my life that just constantly make excuses for things. And you're constantly trying to give them solutions to help and they don't do them or they don't change. Before you know it, they're having the same complaints and the same issues, and you're again trying to help them with solutions, and it's just this constant, and nothing happens. And you're
Callie, blame yourself because for you're well, I've given you a solution, you didn't do it. Did I not give the right solution? Did I not have the right conversation? Right? I've allowed myself to be a sounding board for excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So again, that's sympathy versus empathy as well. Is if you've allowed yourself to be that sounding board for excuses, well, shit, life's not going my way. I'm just going to call Callie and bitch about it. If you're God, I don't want to hear this negativity. You've allowed that to come in. You've lowered your standards of friendship to say, well, I'm just a sounding board for bullshit.
I feel we all have a friend like that. That's so funny. I remember.
Oh yeah, of course we do. Trust me, I do.
Jamie, there's a friend of mine, but you know what I did? I slinked away. I was you know what? Maybe I'm just not gonna call her back anymore. And I'm but you can't, you said, it's human nature. I'm maybe this isn't, but you're right. You could have the conversation. I mean, if they duck out because of the conversation you had, maybe those are the people you shouldn't have in your life. But
yeah, it's true because
conversation, you could salvage a friendship that you obviously cared about.
Yeah.
And it's in business. It's in business too, right? It's just coworkers, you can be oh, I'm trying to help you and I'm trying to give you these solutions. And it's just constantly the same thing over and over again. And you're
yeah. And that's the thing is again, you've allowed that person to treat you as just oh, I'm a sounding board. I don't care what you say or what solutions you're going to bring. I'm just going to come bitch at you. And it sucks the energy out of your eyeballs. So
eventually do you just say stop telling me about it? Because eventually do you just have to be a bit of an asshole and be I've already tried to give you my suggestions. You're not doing them. And that's why nothing's changing.
Right. Again, so your standards of your expectations of what that friendship relationship looks like is it seems to be a moving target. But I would say hey, you know what, Samantha, I appreciate our friendship, but I'm seeing lately that I'm just a sounding board for excuses for things that are going wrong in your life. And it's really starting to have a negative impact on me because I'm feeling like whenever we talk, like the vibe is just off. Like I'm here to support you, but going forward, I really need you to start getting rid of the excuses and getting rid of the negativity.
Yeah.
So how you do that, that's on you. It's like, I mean, what questions do you think you might have that I can answer or I can help with?
For the last time.
For the last time. And then again, you change your expectation to a standard.
Yeah.
I said the last time, I mean the last time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're putting your bullshit into like my little sovereign space here, no, I don't need it. But again, like now you guys are probably also thinking, man, this dude's got no friends. I have a couple.
No, I will like, it's good because I think to hear that from somebody initially might hurt, obviously, but then I think it's a good way of helping somebody understand like what you need in the relationship too. It goes both ways.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
If they respect you, then they'll eventually get over themselves and the hurt
Would
or
you-
whatever they
Because
felt.
you want to see people in your life do well, right? And you don't want them to be hurting or in pain or failing or whatever, but there's just so much that we can do by listening.
So if you really care for somebody, what would you rather give them? A convenient lie or an inconvenient truth? What's going to help them grow as a human being?
Yeah, anything that's going to help them grow. Inconvenient truth.
Yeah, an inconvenient truth. And this is a way for you to be able to deliver that inconvenient truth versus a convenient lie. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Thank you so much for telling me like, oh God, that sucks. Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't like that guy either. Oh yeah, that sucks. Oh yeah. Oh, you're totally right. That's a convenient lie because in your mind, you're like, oh my God, this is never going to change. Try giving them an inconvenient truth and allowing them to grow and flourish as a person, as a friend, as a spouse, as a coworker, right? But we always take this convenient lie, right? It's almost like if I said to Skyly, hey, Skyly, I'm really going to start watching my health and I want to lose some weight. Skyly might say to me, Joe, you look fine. Yeah, you look great. Yeah, you look amazing. That's a convenient lie. An inconvenient truth would be like, you know what? I'm really proud that you're doing that. That is awesome. And you know what can I do to help you? So think about it that way too, right? It's the same thing. Inconvenient truth versus convenient lie. I would respect Skyly more as a friend for being like, because then I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to lose weight. All right, whatever.
It's more supportive the other way.
Yeah, but like, wow, like Skyly's actually willing to help. Like Skyly actually gave me like real shit.
I can't wait for Skyly to use this on me. And maybe like, wait a minute. I do have questions. I was in that meeting.
Oh my God. I don't think we have ever once butted heads. You're hilarious.
So again, I will say this. I know I'm like 1 minute over, but I will part with this piece. If you're going to address a behavior that needs to be corrected in this manner, please go back, reward and recognize in the same way. Add consistency to being a leader, a friend, a spouse, a partner, whatever. Like add consistency for once.
I don't know if you know this saying. There is a saying that says like, men will die for ribbons or something.
Men will die for, no, I don't know that one.
People just really need the recognition, right? Like a lot of people only get recognized for the shitty things, right? Yeah. So it's like really important to recognize people when they're doing things well and when you appreciate different things that they're doing too. Like that's where the saying is something along those lines. It's like men will die for ribbons. I
know what you mean. It's like the only time I ever hear from you is when I'm doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that as a leader, or as a coworker, as somebody in like a client service delivery type role, it's so important to recognize when people are doing the right thing. And we just assume, well, everybody's doing the right thing. Like, awesome, great, good for you. But we don't actually recognize it. Like you don't say something. We're so quick to say when something's wrong, we delay in saying when something's right. I will admit, like in a leadership capacity, like I suck at that. I suck. Like I'm horrible. Like I should have a better recognition program. I mean, what we just implemented on our team is I'm in the process of implementing like a health and wellness and recognition program for our team. right? So with like resources around like mental health, quarterly surveys about things that I could do differently that are anonymous. So I'm trying to add a bunch of stuff for our year-end business planning session that I think will make me a more effective leader. I'm asking for that feedback. But clients want feedback. How are they as a client?
Yeah.
Tell them.
Like, do you have a Google review that I can pop into?
Yeah, exactly. Right. But look at the last client that you worked with, find out what they did, go support that business and leave a Google review, right? Like that's what you want them to do.
Yeah.
How was the last time you guys left a Google review for anybody?
Just recently, actually. But yeah.
There you go. I don't leave them enough. So I hope this was helpful. I know we covered a lot of ground. And, again, I will say just be consistent in your conversations. So important. If you're going to criticize, you need to recognize. And you can do it by behavior impact development. Just add structure. I hope that was helpful.
Important for lots of relationships. So I think it's great. Thank you again.
Also, one final piece. Learn how to answer how's the market.
Yes, I know. I wrote it down. I said, practice how's the market.
And if you want me to come in and work with your team at all around with that specific question, you can hit on my Calendly link and just book me with everybody. And I'm more than happy to come in and spend an hour practicing. Make sure everybody's got that skill.
On it.
Such a critical skill that I think I'm going to say 99% of agents can't field that question.
People just feel like second nature, right? Like it's to like answer. It's not second nature to ask the quality questions, right?
It's like your primary directive is, I'm going to become a teacher. I'm going to teach you. Well, that doesn't build empathy, rapport, trust, communication. Like, no, just dumping on somebody. Like, don't do that. Don't be that person.
Yeah, I agree.
So learn how to answer that question, whether you're a mortgage broker, real estate agent, whatever. Learn how to answer that question.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.